And so it begins.
Attention, people of Earth, I have an important announcement to make.
Oh, no!
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Good morning!
Okay.
Tape deck alert. Tape deck alert.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant!
Yes.
Brilliant!
Brilliant wasn't supposed to come on a second time. Well, I was just looking around YouTube for something to go on. My one eye is like a little bit glassy. And I'm just going to, for someone who tuned in, because I've got a picture of the space station, I had it up. I was looking at this, and let's just take a... there's two things going on right now. One, this is the space station live. As you can see. And there you go. The Earth is round, folks. Sorry about that. For people interested in where the ISS is at this moment. But also what's happening live right now currently is there's a live stream. Let's see if we get the night view active. Let me go to the telescope. Don't tell me that's disappeared. Actually, Starlink. Is this a replay or not? That's a replay of Starlink. We're just gonna scan some of this. Like, there's much more interesting stuff going on in space. That's basically what I was trying to get at. And I'm trying to thought I'd just give you an idea of how much space stuff is live right now. So let's just go to live and see what's all live. Some weird stuff that's live, but there's also the where is it? You notice how I'm not listed on there live at all. The telescope. The new telescope is up and operational right now. Boy, there's some weird live stuff on there. No wonder people don't go to my site. There's one person watching the live space. Well, that's an interesting view. Anyway, I just was, I was watching YouTube last night. I'm going to come on. You'll be seeing me in a second. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. So let's just get away from this for a second, and we'll come back to me. There's the title card. Space news is refreshing for a change, the morning show, and that was a picture of the current location of the ISS. What I'm trying to do here is double check, the real news is in space, not DC. These are the voyages. And the idea is, quite simply, things are getting crazy out there. Here on Earth, on planet Earth. And, crazy isn't the word, I mean, we do this all.
This is insane.
I mean, it's.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare. It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
That's really what it's like. I mean, and I'm starting to notice shows that were trying to be more and more, just topical and, critical of things of the news of the day, which, like I say, the space news is refreshing for a change. We've got a new telescope up there. SpaceX has just put up another rocket. The ISS station, you could watch that live. There's live views of the planet Earth, from space. I mean, all these very interesting things, that like puts life in perspective. That, when you look at this, screen capture that I have as the title card or a thumbnail, whatever you want to call it, you don't see any people or, you don't see, you really don't even see cities, cars. And it should put you in a position that, put your life in perspective, and that these petty things that everyone is so, up in arms about are meaningless, because we're just tiny little people, we're hardly ants, on a planet like that. We're smaller than ants, or a planet like this, right? And yesterday more so in more so than not in recent times anyway, as I was scanning around YouTube, I was just noticing more and more people just really expressing their like disbelief almost in what was going on all over the place. And I mean, where are we headed? This planet, I mean, what are we doing? Well, where's our where's our focus? Do we have a focus? It's like my one eye is like a little bit out of focus. It's like, I must have like scraped it on the pillow or something weird last night. But I haven't been feeling all that well lately, as you may know, regular viewers to this show. I mean, I feel like kind of okay, but I mean, it's just I'm not 100%. But there's this power struggle going on this planet. And that's why I put this, this screen capture. This screen capture is just from moments ago, it's GMT time if you're, get a stickler and looking down at the time. But you can see today's the 9th of January, and that's the date on the, on the image. It's 4:18 a.m. in the morning, and we're sitting on this planet. And in a few hours, of course, it's outside my windows, it's raining, and I have a leaky roof. And it's like, it's the worst case scenario. It originally was supposed to be like freezing rain, like sleet, and then snow. But the thing is, the advanced forecasters prior to this were saying it was going to get in the 40s and just be an all-day rain. And we now have like 4 inches of snow on the ground and on my roof. So you realize the flood situation that I'm facing with a leaky roof. So I'm going to be spending it. And I should have stayed in bed, but I just couldn't. I was up there and it was already starting to leak, and it's coming down in earnest right now. And I don't know. I'm going to have to take a chill pill and an aspirin. The aspirin to keep the heart attack, and a chill pill to keep from having a stroke. Crazy times. But let's go back to the display capture. I'm going to bring up another window if I can. Let's go back to YouTube. Because I looked at some live stuff, what I was looking for was something from the new telescope, and I don't see that. It was there before, and it's kind of vanished. So I guess they're like dealing with, they're getting as bad a treatment as I am, right? Okay. So, here's an updated image of the ISS for someone who's tuned in because of this title card. I wanted to, give you the view of this, that you deserve. I guess this is full screen, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what that does on your, how this appears for you right now, but the thing about it is that's moving at a pretty fast clip if you think about it. And it's clearly on the sunny side of the planet. And this is no 2001 A Space Odyssey, space station. But nonetheless, they've pulled together a pretty decent, craft of sorts, where they can conduct experiments. They can, bring this high definition views, cooperation from different countries, testing new technologies. And, you really could see the weather. I mean, look at those clouds, the view. Look at that. But what I was getting at is, when you look at this, and we'll hit an open space, inevitably shortly, because we're over the Atlantic right now. But you really, like I'm saying, we are so insignificant as beings, that populate this ginormous planet. And we have all of these, battles, ideological battles that seem such a waste of time when you look in terms of of the scale of what we represent. Actually, when you see the location of the ISS, we're not going to be over land at all. We're just going to we're strictly over water. But you can't even see boats, at this point. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at. Right? You can't even see a boat. And yet people are arguing, right? Now that's a nice view we just shifted to. That was a recorded video. When it cuts out at times, then they just shift to something pre-recorded. A lot of people don't really, this is interesting stuff, and it would have particularly been a lot more interesting if we would have caught it going over the northeast of the U.S. But, that was hours ago. So we're just going to see more and more ocean, for the time being. So I guess I'm just going to escape from this and bring us back to Earth, so to speak. Here we are. And, like I say, the method behind that is simple. Things are getting nuts, within the countries, the boundaries. And these boundaries, you can't even see, like even from that image over there, you can't, look at that. You don't see the boundaries. You don't know what country you're looking at. You know what continent you're looking at, but you don't know what country you're looking at. You certainly don't know what, what state, city, what province, whatever. You can't see any kind of individual. Am I getting through, or is it just, am I talking, is it too vague? As things get more and more absurd on planet Earth, between these diseases, right? We're arguing this, in the U.S., the Supreme Court is arguing over basically a flu bug, okay? A novel, as they call it, flu bug, and whether and what people should be forced to do to deal with that. There are arguments and political games going on. Dirty politics are being played. Crazy financial things are going on. Economic-wise, scams, power grabs, money grabs. And the idea is for what? For what? And to really understand and to grasp the size of this planet in perspective to the people who inhabit it. Like I always say, the primary life form on this planet is the flora, one could say insects, but they're so diverse and there's so many different insects. But it's the trees. And the trees communicate through fungi networks and things of that nature. Do they have a say in the matter? Right? No. In fact, they live. CO2 is what they need to survive, and we want to choke that off. A trace gas in our atmosphere. 0.004 CO2, right? I'll tell you. Life has become so absurd. It really is. It really is a surrealist nightmare for some of us. I put some more of that creamer in my coffee. That's what I'm doing right now, just pouring some coffee. I didn't sleep at all last night. In fact, it was really weird. A weird night. It was like, and I guess me saying the ISS is over Saskatchewan is, I'll just take that down for now. Because or I'll move it to here. Because it's not. It's at the present moment. But I was having it was one of those restless nights. So I was sleeping on and off, constantly on and off. It wasn't like I was wide awake for hours. At one stretch, I think I was up for a while. But every time I would get into a REM sleep, a dream state, it was like different parts of my life, almost. Not almost, it was. Like, it was like I was like traveling through time, in my dreams. And there were situations, but it wasn't like it was playing out like I was viewing something. It was more just like that era, and somehow, And like I said, I'm not a big dream rememberer. And so I just that's the essence of what was going on last night. But it seemed every time I would get back to sleep, it would be another time, the time, like it's on the times of your life. It was like another time. I remember at one point going, yeah, my life is flashing before me. It was like, okay, I must be dying or something. But yeah, it was really weird.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
Well, that's me too. I'm doing okay, buddy. Like I said, things could be a lot worse, and things are a lot worse for a lot of people. But the petty arguments and the concept of politics taking such a, front and center stage in news, in pop culture, and that these politicians and the people that support these various ideologies are, it's almost like a cult of personality, that they have with their various followers. That it's hard to grasp, it really is reminiscent of, what they used to call banana republics, which is basically because of a CIA type of that, taking over that banana company down in, was it Central America? Central and South America. Or dictators and from the 20th century. I mean, never before has politics been so much in the fore. And the idea here is this is internal politics in this country. And it's just the scariest part about it, I guess, for some people. Like I said, I'm kind of removed from it. I'm more concerned about just living, health, right? Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness in my own way. I'm retired right now. And so for me, I'm a social critic. I'm bringing this out. I'm not monetized. I don't make any money on any of this stuff. YouTube hasn't monetized me in years. They've got me shadow banned. If you saw the title card from yesterday's show, it's like I'll get things appearing in my chat. I'll check right now. No, nothing there. I'll get 4 or 5 things appearing in my chat, but it'll say I have no viewers. So yeah, I don't really care. What I'm trying to do is I figure that there is some audience out there, however small it may or may not be. And I'll just get these thoughts and ideas out there. And in time, a few people seem to watch it, and it builds an audience. And it's like anyone will tell you, if you can reach one person, it's worthwhile. I watch these things myself, as I say, so it's a way for me to work out ideas. This is absolutely live. I won't edit this, and nobody's going to probably watch this live. So if you are watching this in, from the recorded live recording, it wasn't edited. It was just after it's done, it's just goes through the process that it's just up there. I don't cut anything out, change anything, do anything. When I play a sound effects, something like this.
Your papers, please.
That's me pushing a button. It's not added later. But yeah, it's kind of like I almost didn't come down to do this show, but I kind of wanted to check on the attic to see if the rain was coming down bad and fast, filling in my collection bins up there. And so I thought, I'll do it. Plus, I've been having this gallbladder thing. And one of the things is don't skip meals and stuff like that. And I just felt I should eat something. I hadn't eaten since yesterday at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Not supposed to. You know, it's weird, like the keto type of diet or these certain things, these fasting things are good for you if you want to lose weight. And the gallbladder says you should, if you have a gallbladder thing, taking off a few pounds is a good thing. And then I discovered after a week or two, I've been doing it for months, that I've been using turmeric because it's an anti-inflammatory. Turmeric is a good thing, you know. And I just found out yesterday when I was going down more of a rabbit hole trying to find a more refined diet so I could live with this thing and not have to have some kind of operation, you know, surgery or something. I started to discover, and I had to dig really deep, but eventually it was starting to pop up. They're saying this turmeric is, can irritate your gallbladder. And it's like this internet is so broken. And it just makes me think, you know, that coupled with what I was watching when I would see these various YouTubers talking about, you know, events of the day, this, that, the other. And it's just how broken the internet is and how broken our society is and how broken, well, the government's been broken. You know, it's a corporatocracy. It's just a bunch of bureaucrats. Everybody looking out for themselves. You know, I constantly put this thing up. It's like hypocrisy for profit. You know. But the idea shouldn't our focus, or one would think that, you know, the interest of people would be advancement, you know, the betterment of life, the quality of life for people. I mean, you would think that, you know, there are actually people that believe that there's a flat earth, you know, though there are, you know, dozens and dozens of, you know, places where you could find satellite pictures and live. And like I've said before, you could compare these the cloud structures. Like if you really wanted to do it, all right, and I've done it already, but I'm not going to do it today because it's complex to do it. If you go to a weather satellite, okay, and you find you find out where the ISS station is, one of these Earth directed cameras are, right? A live one. And then you go on another open up another window and go to the weather, you know, like, you know, even Doppler radar and that kind of thing to see. And you compare and kind of try to match, you will find that the proof that this isn't some fake, you know, like these people say this a fake, they're faking it. The proof that there isn't any sort of illusion here whatsoever is that you'll see those clouds, exact cloud structures, you know, from looking up, from various, you know, infrared, you know, even Doppler radar to, you know, other satellites. It all matches. It's just, you know, you've got to put it all together, but you put it together. And if you were to sit there, if you're one of these people that, you know, has these millions and millions of people like have these beliefs, crazy beliefs, that if you waited until watched where the satellites were that were taking the picture, and then till it was got to your area, and you actually looked up at that point, well, technically you could see it with a telescope, you know, with a fairly decent telescope, you know, like a telescope, you know, not the cheapest telescope, but you can see it, you know. But you could also in the daytime, when it's doing a view like this, where the light is in the clouds, You could look up at the cloud formations from where you stand if the thing is above you, and you'll notice the exact same cloud formations, unless you've got like clouds over clouds over clouds, which, which does happen. But like in the case right here, where you can see ocean, you would be able to differentiate between. But see, that doesn't matter. Nobody cares about that, and everybody cares about, this big greed, power grab, politics. And I have this book here I wrote, then what, and it's the idea is that, like, what's the end game? You have to wonder. That's the part that's puzzling to me. I mean, is it really so simplistic that it's just pure power and greed? These billionaires, right? When is enough enough? How it's like I have to have a bigger yacht than you, or I have to have 2 yachts, in case I get divorced, so if my wife can take one of the other yachts and I still have my yacht. How many private jets do you need? How many do you need a private island? Is that the thing? It's so crazy. I mean, is it that simplistic? It's just the collection of toys. Is that line, whoever has the most toys at the end wins or whatever? I don't know, or something like that. The golden rule is whoever has the most gold wins or something. Gold. Even when I was a kid, I never saw the fascination with gold. It just it never, like, I could never really, I couldn't grasp that. Any of that stuff just didn't mean anything to me. This robot behind me, the droid, from the TARDIS, almost looks like I'm wearing a purple earring or something. That's actually that's a 3D eye, one of his 3D eyes. So he's got 3D vision. It's from the UK. Belongs in the TARDIS. Let's take a look back here a second. Move out of the way. I'll get rid of this ISS thing for a second. It's the background you don't normally see. And that picture, for somebody who just happened upon this site because maybe they saw the space thing, in the right-hand corner just to the left of the bookshelf, you'll probably, it's early in the morning, it's 4:42 a.m. and it's miserable out there, but you'll see trucks and cars passing by. That's my live camera too. I was hoping to see snow today because I don't care. But yeah, for some reason, my Echo Dot voice assistant, broke in with a, weather alert type of thing, National Weather Service alert, though I have a weather radio, which I listen to. And it was talking about severe weather, like now. And so today was supposed to be like freezing rain, sleet, and snow, and continue in the whole next couple of days. We're going to be like that. And I'm going, that's fine. And then eventually gradual snow. But instead, it's above freezing, getting above freezing fast. So there seems to be some flow coming in. So I'm going to, let's take a look at it. I had stopped doing this for a while, but I'm going to go to some Noaa satellite imagery for a second. And I'm going to bring up, just give me a second. I'll go to CONUS, and let's look at the true color in motion. They were having some problems with their animations for a couple of days, but they've got it fixed now. I'm going to bring this up because I'm kind of curious myself on why they were saying it was going to be in the 30s, freezing rain and whatnot. Actually, you'll see shortly. I just got a glimpse of it. Let me bring this over here. Sorry for the delay. It's live TV, folks. There's nothing there for you to see. Replace. All right, I'm going to bring up the Earth view. And so here's the story. So apparently the jet stream has shifted, so you can see that there's this flow from the south to the north. So it's bringing warm, moist air from the south. Look at it. It's coming from every possible place. You see that? It's coming from the Gulf, and it's coming from the South Pacific over by Baja Peninsula. You see that? And it's working its way, and I'm in the mid-Atlantic states, and it's just coming right. It's just going to be a... Look at that. So that's what happened. Initially, this whole this flow wasn't supposed to be, coming completely from so much moisture and warm air coming from the south to the north. So you can see wherever you are, pretty much your forecast, So I would imagine the water being as warm as it still is. Even if you look out in the Atlantic, there's like a little bit of circulation there, but you can see like moisture coming in down, into the Carolinas, which is just adding to that mix, which means it must be raining all over the whole eastern part of the U.S. And then I'm sure there's probably snow. It's probably not turning into snow until you're up into the north, the far northeast in Canada. It's pretty crazy. Well, that explains it. But as of yesterday, they weren't able to tell us that for some reason. And, it's amazing how, I've talked about this sometimes, how poorly we are at forecasting the weather these days as opposed to even like 20 years ago. And and for the life of me, I have no explanation that I could forward for that. It's just, but it is the way it is. Yesterday they were giving a winter storm, advisory for this region. And in reality, it's going to be in the 40s and raining, right? I mean, it'd be one thing for them to say, okay, there's a flood, potential for flooding because you've got snow on the ground, but the streets have been cleared, since yesterday, because yesterday the sun came out for the better part of the day, at least where I am. So it's not even a threat. But they were saying it was like a winter weather advisory. There would be sheets of ice, roads, don't drive. That's probably why there's no traffic. So yeah, like I say, that camera, if you're looking up in that area, you see that that pole is I'll show you the snow from the other day. All right. This is from like 2 days ago. And that pole you see on the right, okay, is the same pole you see on the picture up there. It's a live shot. There's just no action going on. There's a street light there, I guess you could see. And there's a business across the street that has, technically they've got like Christmas decorations up still, lit up in their windows. But how could they call it that wrong? To the point of where I was sitting in my watching some YouTube yesterday, which was what I do because I cut the cord to the regular TV. And, there was an alert on my Echo Dot. And I'm like, do you have a notification for me? And you say, yeah, the National Weather Service has issued a weather advisory in your area, freeze, I'm like, what? Okay. That's fine for me. It's a Sunday. I figured, okay, that's great. I don't care. Because I got a leaky roof. That's my problem. But plus it's a Sunday, so it's not really going to affect people. People don't need to drive. People could afford to chill out for a day, Let it pass. It's wintertime, snow day. Right? I remember when I was a kid growing up, we'd have snow days. And it was just, so what? Kids were off school, building snowmen, hanging around, sledding. Yeah, everybody had a sled, sleigh, whatever. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But I got this feeling yesterday when I was flipping through the various YouTube people, and, some that I occasionally check in on and others that I don't. Some that are pundits, some that are just, I don't know, individuals you follow. It's the nature of YouTube. And there seemed to be, it was definitely weighted towards the point of it, of where things were, seemed to be somber and bleakness, those are the kind of words, as far as, just a general lack of positivity, towards the future and towards 2022, this year in general. And it wasn't just the idea of politics. It's the idea of people just have lost faith in everyone, in all of these greedy, power hungry people that seems to have seized power everywhere. And it's the same even with this, this ongoing, flu thing. It's as if everybody's, there's these people, first of all, there's the people that are like, I liken to the sports fanatics that have chosen a side. So it's like it's a team sport. Politics is a team sport, and they're rooting for anything, Then there's this creation of these events, like this recent one that just happened this past week, the anniversary of, that if you look back in history, and there's actually like documentary footage from previous serious events where, people stormed, the Capitol and, all that stuff. I mean, outrageous stuff that has happened, literally, in the later part of the 20th century too. So it's like not like ancient history. It was far beyond this. And then the questions revolving around what happened and how they've turned this into some kind of political thing that they want to use to their advantage so they can hold on to power and sell more. The pharmaceutical companies can make more money. One of the Supreme Court justices said, is there anything else that you could do for this thing? Is there a treatment or something like that? And people just like were shocked that, somebody, that they couldn't ban, a Supreme Court justice actually would like say, it's like that would be like the kid who said the emperor's not wearing any clothes. That was like, totally took the media back. But it's a question on everybody's mind because they just keep seeing every time somebody in Congress or some famous person or whatever gets this thing, they seem to get a treatment, right? And then they're better, like, 24, 36, 48 hours, definitely within the week. But if, so you can see the cars going by now if you look closely on the thing up top. A couple cars just went by. Yeah, it's nuts. And so you have that going on, which has been going on now for a long time. No end in sight. They're still bringing up this stuff, still trying to go after the last guy in office. There's still 1,000,001 things that people can't talk about, like, so that, First Amendment has been, abolished, basically, for all practical purposes. If you think about it. You don't have freedom of speech in this country. And so, in a country where the only way you can speak, the idea, the mandated lockdown, put, a muzzle over if you go out, put a muzzle over your face, or don't gather, or if you do gather, stay distance away, basically means you do not have free speech in person. So the only free speech or place where you can have social discourse, communications with people, would be through social media. But social media has stipulations and says you can say this, you can't say that. So there's no so in effect, free speech has been banned in the United States, and I guess in other countries as well. But here it's been banned. Free speech is banned. Outlawed by the terms of service. And no one in the government, the Supreme Court, judges, or anything are doing anything about it. They're just like turning the other way or looking away. Nothing to see here. First Amendment gone. Fourth Amendment gone. They don't care. And no, it's not a laughing matter. I mean, I've got a little smile on my face just because I'm half awake. Just starting to get in. Face reality, wake up and face the world. But I don't know. And, it's not good that, I don't want to get into the metaphysical type of thing really or anything, but it's really not good when there's such negativity out there, and that's what I'm feeling. I'm seeing, it's negativity. Because negativity breeds negativity. And it's not just in some woo-woo way. It's the idea of, pessimism is, a constant beating. It's like jingoism, the constant beating of the drum towards war. If it's all over the media and it's all over all these, elected and unelected bureaucrats, if that's all you're hearing day in, day out, then it's, it eats at people, and then it eventually just becomes people just, it wears them down, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. Right. And pessimism is the same way as jingoism, It's just people are so, it's like the fear mongering that has been going on the past 2 years. When they say hospitals are full, really the death rates have been going down, and of course we are in the flu season. And one thing that a lot of people aren't mentioning now is that we have an aged population now more so than ever before. So which each passing year, that there's a higher percentage of the population reaching, old age, which by the nature of any kind of influenza, or even really a bad case of a cold, that, the extreme elderly, who inevitably, like when you get old, trust me, as you get older, you start having health issues, and let's face it, between the processed food we're eating, I mean, and speaking of space and all that stuff, the idea of, we have a weakened magnetic field right now on the planet, and the sun's going through some major changes, right? And so, and all this, we haven't really tested. The results aren't really out, because, the smartphone people, there's initial and anecdotal evidence, that these people putting, guys walking around with smartphones in their pockets, that they're, not only their testosterone levels, but I mean, basically you're becoming, unable to have children, their sperm count's going down and stuff. And then, you hear about the soy boy, thing, but that's not really, that's nothing manufactured or made up. And, so it's like there's all sorts of stuff eating at society. And like I say, obesity, because they're locked people down. People are ordering, it's fast food, junk food, processed foods. Well, what do you expect? I was trying to find, foods to eat because of this to keep myself from having gallbladder issues. I just don't want to have an operation, a surgery. Okay. And so, I'm going through various places, and I'm not I'm not one of these people that goes down a rabbit hole to, some goofy site, No, I'm looking at like the Mayo Clinic, places like that, right? Real doctors, some nutritionist with a PhD from an accredited university. Medical journals, peer-reviewed medical journal type of things. I'm doing my due diligence, which is hard now on the internet because, when you search, everything's like, it's all pay to play, so they put up all this stuff. And some sites, the question you asked, you click on it, and then they don't even answer the question. It's just some ads and some other stuff. Then you got to go somewhere else. Or how about those other sites are really real pain? Even some of the legitimate sites, it's like there's a slide, and then you got to keep clicking, like, to go through 16 slides to find the 16 foods that are healthy or unhealthy for you or something if you have a particular ailment. But in some cases, you have to like scroll down. So then you have to scroll back up to hit the arrow again. It's like, it's like I say, the internet's broken. You can't trust Google, Wikipedia. They changed that, like the weather, and the weather, and the weather's definitely changes. But so you look for something. You want to find. These are the important things in life, or should be, right? You may look at this and say, well, who cares? That guy, it's his problem. He probably was eating Oreo cookies or something. No, my friend, I wasn't eating Oreo cookies. I live a healthy life. I basically, unlike probably most of you, this is my backyard. You know what all that green stuff is? I grow fresh, organic food. And for 6-7 months of the year, I eat extremely healthy. And you see that back by that white door? Just to the left of it, there's a lounge chair there. It's a little mini greenhouse. That's what I call the TARDIS. A little solar panel to keep that. It gets so hot in there, I have to have a solar panel hooked up to a fan to exhaust that. But I sit there in that chair and soak up my vitamin D, and then I eat my fresh vegetables. No, I eat healthy, But I get conflicting messages from the doctors on the internet. And your own doctor. I've seen various doctors, and they contradict one another. I've gone into emergency rooms, with a problem here and there, and the nurses were like, because, a lot of the nurses who've been there for a long time have left because of all the hassle they've had, and plus they've been overworked to death. So a lot of people have, the veteran nurses are retired early. And I went into one emergency room one time this past year because the local hospital was filled. That's the thing I was saying. They've got people so fear-mongered that people come down with like bad cold or flu symptoms and they're in the hospital, you know? And it's like it's affected the whole institution. So the nurses, the doctors, they have to do it. You know, they feel compelled to do it. So they're not going to, instead of them saying, look, you know, you just got the flu or you just got a bad cold, here, take, you know. They don't want the liability, or they don't want whatever, and so they just find them, you know. And you know, so at one point I couldn't even get in the hospital, and I was having serious other serious problems. Right. But the nurses and the doctors at that particular hospital was like the next town over. The only place they had like an open, you know, ER was accepting people. They didn't know what they were doing. It's like the doctor on duty was like, he was an intern. It was like early in the morning. He was an intern. So he wasn't experienced. He didn't know what he was doing. And the two nurses were like girls in their early 20s. You know, I was looking around. It's like the only adults in the area were patients. It was scary in a way. And when they came in, it was as if, so I wasted like this almost a half-hour ride in an ambulance in pain to go to some place where basically I should have just stayed home and tried, you know, and just, you know, dealt with it. Because they offered nothing more than you would, like, you know, that you would look up on like WebMD. They didn't, like, you know, it was a waste of time. So that's what I'm trying to get at. You know, it's like, so, you know, it's a glass half full, glass half empty kind of way of looking at things. And, you know, maybe for some people coming off of the holidays, people, you know, looking forward to getting engaged or something on Valentine's Day, you know, this, that, the other. I'm sure there's people out there that it's like happy, you know, in their, you know, newly furnished, you know, apartment or house and all this kind of stuff, or with all their new toys they got for the holidays, you know. But let me tell you, that stuff only lasts so long. Generally speaking, taking the pulse, to use the medical analogy, when you take the pulse of this nation, it's very pessimistic, and people have a very bleak outlook for the future, particularly this year in the short term. And that's very strange, you know, because normally, you know, it would, in the short term, people usually don't feel that way necessarily, right? So I don't know. You know, it's my observation. I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people. I'm seeing, you know, these ideologues, you know, lined up like on a football field against each other, and just like the fans on either side of the stadium, right? You know, just holding the line, right? You know, looking for victory, right? You know, go get them, tackle them, right? And then I see a lot of greed and a lot of power-seeking people who just want power for power's sake. They already have, they've already been given some position, or they have, but it's like they're like drunk on power. And you notice how old, there's like they won't leave, right? Look at the people who are in charge of things, like the World Economic Forum, that Klaus guy. It's someone that's a guy who should be retired and grandkids, playing with his grandkids. Of course, I don't think that guy has a nice bone in his body. Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, even Donald Trump. This is Hillary Clinton is back doing on the circuit. It's ridiculous. And they just because of that, they're drunk with power. They can't let go. I don't know. And we're the ones who suffer. My chair is falling down. See, like suddenly I'm higher. It's like it's a gradual thing. It just does that, and then until you realize you're starting to like touch the floor almost. It's a 20-some-year-old chair. I really need to get a new chair, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing these things. So it's hard to say. Why bother, right? Well, anyway, that's all. I mean, like I say, I got up because I have this leaky roof that I can't really fix till the spring. So I'm in a quandary. So in the meantime, the best I could do is when it rains, I can fix, I have like these things to catch the rain. And I bought one of these pumps people use to like take gas out of a gas can and put it in their car or vehicle. Have you ever seen those things? Excuse me. And so what I do is I stick that in these these trays I have underneath where it rains in my attic, and I turn that battery powered pump on and pump it into a bucket. Unfortunately, in this attic, it's like years ago. It was like I guess used as a third floor. It's finished off. I have no use for it. It's an attic as far as I'm concerned. And so there's like a window there. And then I open the window and dump the water out the window. Like some medieval thing. These people dumping out whatever. But on a day like today, I'll have to do that a half dozen times. And it's cold up there and it's damp and musty. And inevitably, if it's an all-day rain event, even though I have all of these areas like covered with these, I'm using cat litter boxes because they're like the biggest, tray type of thing I could find. And I've got this rubberized tape and stuff, waterproof tape and stuff around them. But inevitably, on an all-day rain, sometimes it gets down real heavy and it gets in behind the wall or something like that, and I get some leaks down on the second floor, which is where my, my bedroom is. And I have a bedroom in the front I don't use, but still it gets water in it. And inevitably, and then it messes up the plaster. And I'm going to have to deal with that in the spring too, because that plaster is going to have to be like, it's an old house. So it's a plaster ceiling. It's not like you're replacing like a ceiling tile or something. And plasters could be like this thick and heavy, like crazy heavy. So I'll have to have some kind of like metal container, which I don't even have, or boxes or something, and like poke out pieces of that plaster, and then re-plaster it or find some covering I could put over it. Once the weather changes enough to where I can open up a section of the ceiling in the attic and fix the parts where the leaks are. I mean, I think it's a semi-doable, or at least I could fix it, to get it to be repaired for a couple of years. At this point, a couple year relief would be great until I could just deal with the roof somehow. I have a couple ideas, but none of them that could be done in the middle of rain or in the middle of winter or when it's snowing and in the teens. See, the odd thing about, when we look at this thing that I brought up, yesterday it was in the daytime, it was in the teens. So, I mean, I could understand the forecasters not imagining that it would get up, be in the 40s right now. But that flow from the south, and look at all that moisture from every place water can come from. Even the Great Lakes are like adding to it. If you look, they're pushing. Some of them are pushing into that flow, but it's warm air coming up and warm water, so it's not enough cold to chill the air down. And like I say, I keep looking. You can't see this part, but I keep looking here. The temperature went up. When I started the show, it was like 34. It's already up to like 37. Within the hour, it's supposed to be 41 degrees. 100% chance of rain from that point onward. 41, 43, 40, into the mid 40s and rain. That means I'm in for, double the horror. Because there's snow on the roof right now. So, you're going to get snow melt, which is going to try to seep through every nook and cranny with rain on top of it. You're right. And then that's just going to be, and then it's going to rain all day. So once it like everything gets totally soaked in and all those leak spots, it's probably going to widen the leaks. And then it's going to rain all day, and it'll be literally raining indoors up there. And I'll be up there with this little hand pump. Probably have to change luckily I have an extra set of batteries. I'm going to end up changing the batteries from using it so much. I just hope the motor doesn't kick out. I wanted to buy another one just to have a backup, and I haven't yet. I'm going to get one this week, but keeping my fingers crossed. Because it's impossible. This thing works. Otherwise, I'll be like taking like a scoop and scooping the water into the buckets, because I can't move. I can't move the trays because that at least has stopped. I was literally getting rain in my hallway, and it was getting down into my bedroom. That's how bad it was. But that still may happen today. I don't know. I have a dehumidifier on the second floor. So if that starts happening, like I say, it's a nightmare. It's part of life. These things you deal with. But that has nothing to do with what's going on around the country. And like I said, I'm just like sounding the alarm in a sense of saying, maybe, maybe I ought to just like stop watching the news, because, it's just, there's just too much negativity out there and too much politics. Like, since when did these people, like, we've given them too much power over our lives, our health, our, in other words, whether or not we can go somewhere, right? What we can say, right? These should be personal decisions, right? And the idea that, this argument some people have, well, we're putting other people's lives in jeopardy. It's like, no, it's not true. As bad as the things have been over the past 2 years, over 99% of the people in this country did not die from that thing. And that's an actual statistic. And the primary groups where there've been the highest number of deaths have been people that pretty much, like they say, they have comorbidities or they're extreme old age. And the idea is that if this government, and these bureaucrats cared so much about our health, why are they why has the mortality rate dropped by 2 years prior to this, just prior to this? Because they're not paying attention to the foods and to all of the other factors that are causing us to have diseases. In other words, heart disease is still the number one killer, killing about 650,000 people a year. Cancer's killing like 600,000 people a year. I mean, those two things alone are killing 1.2 million people a year. This thing hasn't killed 1.2 million people in the U.S. You understand? And then under that, as you go further down the list, they've thrown this thing in the list now. But as you go further down the existing this is a CDC list I'm quoting. You have things like diabetes, what they would call traditional influenza and pneumonia. For some reason, the flu and the cold has completely vanished from existence now, right? So that's a little bit weird and fishy to begin with, okay? It's funny, you go in the doctor's office, it's like, did you want a flu shot? And then you got this other shot. It's like, well, isn't this the flu? This is this year's flu then, right? Because you're not reporting you're not saying so. Who has the flu? Who has a bad cold, and who has this? They don't want to tell you that because big pharma is making hundreds of billions of dollars. It's all about money, man, and that's the thing that really gets me. You don't get a straight answer from them. There's just too much hypocrisy, and it's hypocrisy for profit. And we see it happening. We see the privileged elite, the ruling elite, the greedy and powerful, the billionaire class, the Davos set, the World Economic Forum. We see all those people, they're not paying attention. They're not doing any of this stuff that they're asking everybody else to do. Right? And, and what are we doing? Why are, so it's like, so people are still dying of heart attack. People are still, type 2 diabetes is on the rise. Obesity is on the rise, right? You ever look at the ingredients? Like I said, this is how I started on that whole thing. And I'm not going to go on long with this show. I'm just about done. But I was trying to find a diet that would, so I could preserve my gallbladder, okay? Basically, to be healthy. And, apart from finding conflicting, one site, totally, one site will tell you to drink coffee is good, and another site says avoid coffee, right? One side says, maybe 1 or 2 drinks could be good. Another site said avoid alcohol altogether. Another site says turmeric and anti-inflammatories. That's how initially, were good for if you had an inflamed, And then yesterday, as I got deeper into certain things, I started to find more and more saying, no, turmeric actually can create gallstones or whatever, complicate matters. Conflicting reports. And then you look at, okay, well, what can I eat? What's good? What's healthy? Right? This type of thing. And you put in an order, for food, or you go to the store and you look at the boxes. I put in an order, one of these Instacart things. I had somebody deliver stuff yesterday because I wasn't, it was all snow out there. I had no way. I wasn't about to kill myself trying to walk through sidewalks to the store that people didn't shovel and were half filled with ice, half filled with snow. So basically, unless I had cross country skis, and that wouldn't even have been safe. But you look at the labels, and everything in it has high fructose corn syrup, right? And all kinds of things like, they'll say whole wheat, but it's not whole grain. And, in the diet, they say have a high fiber diet. But see, whole wheat is just flour. You want grain. And so I had, like, one of the things I ordered, I swear I ordered these crackers that on the site it said whole grain crackers. But I guess the person doing the shopping or picking it up, delivery person, picked up these, ended up a box of Ritz crackers, which is like a waste of money because I'm not going to eat it. Because apart from it not being whole grain, they're like wheat crackers or something. But there's no whole grain in there. But I noticed in there's all this, sugar, added sugars and carbs and stuff, all these other things. So the FDA doesn't care. These people are crazy. They're out there pretending, it's this whole hypocrisy for profit. The pressure of big ag, big pharma, big tech is so strong that the elected and unelected bureaucrats, right, civil servants, they forget that we pay their salaries, our taxes. That if they really cared, there wouldn't be 650,000 people a year dying of heart disease. Cancer's on the rise. I had a cancer operation. I had a radical prostatectomy. I got cancer. They say 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 men now have prostate cancer. It's the truth. My brother had it. A friend I know down the street here, he had it. I talked to another friend, and she said her uncle had it. It's like everyone you talk to, it's like, oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, such and such. Yeah. It's like all over the place. Well, it wasn't that way when I was younger, And people, and, sometimes people like to say people didn't live as long. That's a lie, my one grandfather lived in his 90s. My grandparents on my other side both lived to be like 80-ish, over 70s, in their 80. And my other grandmother, I'm not sure how old she lived, but she probably made it to like 80-something. My mother's 88 because she's from that era, My father died of Alzheimer's, complications from Alzheimer's, but he made it to, to 80, over 80. And the mortality rate now has basically, according to CDC, which I showed live on this show a couple days ago, I guess, it's dropped by 1.8%. And that's, almost, 1.8 years, not percent, 1.8 years. It's almost 2 years. In other words, we've lost almost 2 years of our lives. And that's not because of COVID. You see? This was like the 2019 to 2020, number, leading into, just when this thing hit, before this thing hit, as this thing hit, say. And besides, in a country of 330 million people, because we're talking about the U.S. now when you talk to CDC, 1% of the people would be 3.3 million. That's why I'm trying to say that 99+ % of Americans did not, underscore not die from this thing. But you'll say, yeah, but I saw on TV that like 700,000, out of 750,000 people. Yeah, well, if 1 million+ people died, that would be like less than 1/3 of 1%. You have to put things in perspective, right? Like I'm saying, almost, about, a couple of million people, over a couple of million people die every year from medical related problems, which include like influenzas, pneumonia, lower respiratory tract diseases, heart-related diseases and stuff, all the things that this thing, is involved with or exacerbates or whatever, but they would die anyway every year, And so I think the reason there's such bleakness out there and pessimism is that we're getting such mixed signals and no one seems to want to tell us the truth. And it's like, if there's a treatment for this thing, then let us have it. We cannot allow big pharma to lobby Congress, or the president or something, and in effect dictate our health and destroy our healthcare system by filling up our hospitals with people, and the doctors in the hospitals are not allowed to give them the same treatments that the people in Congress or the president or his press secretary, when they get that treatment. But if you go in the hospital, they're not going to give you that. Do you see? Or you go to your doctor, they're not, if they prescribe it, in some cases, they're not even permitted to prescribe certain things. But there's basically treatments out there, multiple ones. And you can't talk about them. In fact, you can't talk about them so much that, it's ridiculous. So why is that? That's really fishy. And you wonder why people, are starting to become very depressed and pessimistic, and why they have a bleak outlook for this year. It has nothing to do with the 2022 elections and stuff like that. Like I say, politics was always there, but it was never that big a deal in this country. You know what I mean? It was like there was the political class, and then there would be, every 4 years, you'd have the presidential election, and it'd be a lot of pomp and circumstance and stuff like that. But it was like, there were always those that were like completely obsessed with it, like somebody, like a sports fanatic. But the rest of the people were like, yeah, whatever. Right? You lived your life, It's like I quote that Tip O'Neill line all the time. All politics is local. As long as your neighborhood was good, your family was healthy, in your town you can do things, you were fine. Right? The idea was hopefully you had somebody in there that wasn't going to bring about World War III or something like that. You know what I mean? There were big issues at hand that maybe caught your eye. But generally speaking, it wasn't like it's politics all day long. And now it's this thing all day long, right? And somehow the government has somehow become like in charge of health. I don't see that anywhere, in the Constitution, right? That's not providing for the common defense, We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all three of those things have been kind of stripped away from us over the past couple of years. Meanwhile, we've got astronauts in space, right? And it's a beautiful world. It really still is a beautiful world. Like I say, you can take, that's my backyard. This is a 2-year-old picture. Last year it even looked better than that. All right? It's a beautiful world. By the way, for someone who just tuned in here randomly, that particular picture of that yard, my house, I pay $200 more. My mortgage is $200, and that includes the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. That's how cheap this house was. And I don't live in the ghetto. You could see outside. I have a live camera in my window there. It's just a neighborhood. There's like a business across the street type of thing. There's a doctor's office next door who I go to. In fact, I have a checkup, within the week. Next Monday, I think, or something. So what I mean, you could find places to live like that. And that's how people always were, right? They just live their life. And the important thing in life was life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Life meaning health too, right? Your life, right? Is my life threatened? Am I healthy? That kind of thing. Liberty, the freedom to do what you want to do, as long as you don't infringe on someone else's liberty, right? That's a simple, basic natural law, that even transcends the Constitution and anything. It's the idea is freedom is you're free to do whatever you want as long as you don't infringe on someone else's freedom. And that's a pretty easy thing to do. Because, when I'm out in my, my backyard, I'm free to do whatever I want to. And I got a fence there. I'm not infringing on anybody. You know what I mean? Though I'll tell you, the reason I have a high fence on the right side of that is because I've got a neighbor who burns garbage now. But, this is the crazy thing about burning garbage. She seems to want to burn it like in the afternoon when I'm out there trying to sit on that lounge chair and get some sun. But B, the plastic garbage, black plastic garbage bags, right? She puts the whole garbage bag in this pit. So like those poisonous gases from this, whatever, are, in other words, if you're going to burn your paper or something, fine. Burn your trash. People have been doing that for years, I guess. But I don't even think it's legal in the city, but I'm not one of these rats. But this summer, if she puts one of those plastic bags in, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to rat her out. But then that's going to cause a battle, because she's one of these people that's like, But like she infringes on my freedom, put it that way. I don't infringe on hers. But that stuff happens, and what are you supposed to do? But yeah, so it's crazy. But that's a little local war. That's a neighborhood war. That's something I'll deal with. We'll figure a way around it. I don't know, one way or another. See if I could find somebody with discretion, maybe to speak with her and not mention that I'm the person that complained or something. I don't know. I just don't want to breathe in the poisonous gas. You see what I mean? So I don't know. It's weird. But I guess we got worse problems to deal with. So I don't know. I don't know what the outlook is, going forward. But I just see a lot of people right now that just aren't happy. And that's, and like I say, that's the last part of this, the pursuit of happiness. There are people who are happy, and for the most part, I am happy when I'm out here on the days when, if she's not burning her garbage. Unfortunately, usually she only does it once a week or something. How much trash can one old lady make? I hope she hasn't been storing up. She probably has a garage full of stuff, so she's probably got a month's worth of stuff to burn. I can't wait. She's the type, the one time she literally had, those plastic, the takeout polystyrene or styrofoam type containers. You could see as this black trash bag was melting, because I was off from the second floor. I couldn't believe it. It was summer. I wanted fresh air. My windows open on the second floor. And so I'm closing my windows because I'm smelling this horrible smoke, like somebody burning tires or something. And so as I'm closing the one window towards the back, I'm looking to see where this is coming from. And I could see, because I have second floor looking down, I could see into the yard. And as this plastic bag just kind of disintegrates into black smoke, inside it, I can see there are these styrofoam type of containers and other plastics and different things like that. So it's like I'm going, my God, these are toxins. These are toxins. This is a far cry from you just having your junk mail, going out in the backyard and putting some paper junk mail, which is the equivalent of, just burning some wood or something, paper, pulp. Even the inks they use nowadays, because I'm was in the printing business. My whole family was in the printing business. So many of the inks these days are soy-based, plant-based inks. They're not, the VOCs. It's hard to find that. It's like, those would be like when you see these very metallic or super, super high gloss type of things, whatever. That's when you're going to see the high VOC type inks. But your average piece of junk mail that you're getting from these companies, it's pretty much a plant-based ink on, recycled paper. So it's like, yeah, go ahead and burn it. I don't care. I don't do that kind of thing. But I mean, I wouldn't care, and it wouldn't really smell. It would be like passing odor for about 10 minutes, and the paper would just go up pretty quick. So if you're going to do it, do that. Okay, fine. But no, I'm looking down and I'm seeing a black plastic trash bag, melt, throwing off black smoke like a tire. And then what was inside of it is starting to melt and give off black smoke. And it's like styrofoam and plastics and things. And I'm going what the? And I'm thinking, okay, once and done. And then it started to be a repetitive thing. Oh, man, this country, people are crazy. And the thing is, she doesn't know any better. That's the thing. These people don't know any better. And people are so self-centered. Have you noticed that too? So it's like they don't even care. Like if I were say I wanted to do that, for example. And by the way, she is a trash service, so she pays for have her garbage removed. So she could easily have just thrown it out. So it's almost like she's being a prick. But I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. It's weird. And so, but say I was the type of person that decided, well, I'm going to burn, my junk mail or something like that, because the weird thing about our garbage collection here is we're allowed, this is crazy. They raised the price, and I guess there was such pressure on it in the contract they made with the city, because they have to get a franchise. They have to go through city council to get these things. And so a couple of years ago, they changed garbage collection, like who collects garbage in the city. I know this is weird, and I said I was going to be done soon, but I will be.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
But they have a thing, and I can't even believe it. But not apart from recycling, you could put out your recycling bins and stuff. And you can recycle cardboard as long as it's wrapped, with twine or something. But garbage bag wise, trash bags, trash cans, you could put up to 6 bags out. 6. So I'm going what the heck is she burning garbage with putting a black trash bag? Doesn't she know she could just put it out front, with your other garbage? That's the part that really is weird. I don't understand that. So, but people, like I'm saying, they've dumbed down America. People are crazy. They're scared of this, scared of that. And the government's become the, the health minister, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Speech, right? It's like, it literally is, you can't even talk about 1984 and stuff. It's beyond that, right? This is beyond, way beyond any kind of Orwellian society right now. And I think that's why people are the way they are. And you may be watching this and be oblivious and say, what the hell is this guy talking about? My life is fine. He's just depressed or something. It's like, no, I'm not depressed. Today I'm not looking forward to cleaning up the attic upstairs. But, no, I have a fairly decent life, and I've got this neat technology and kind of fun stuff here.
Really funny. Really funny.
I mean, I'm doing the things. I'm retired. I don't have to be anywhere at any given time. The only places I have to be, is I have a doctor's appointment next week. Actually, I have 2. And I schedule them around the same time so I could just get it over with, I got to watch my diet, because, which is hard to do because they've got sugars and all this stuff in everything. And one last thing as I babble, I used to be one of these people saying, this gluten thing is out of control, gluten-free. But I was watching it. There's a doctor I watch, who does a fairly regular podcast, Dr. Beth, all right? And, she was talking about something, and I don't know if it was at a medical conference or it was just her giving one of her short speeches. And unfortunately, she's not really popular. It's kind of one of the reasons I watch her because she doesn't get that many views necessarily. I mean, she has had some, I think, in the thousands, but I mean, sometimes I've seen like she had 49 views and stuff. And I'm going, okay, there's somebody for me. But she's, a medical doctor who's practiced for 20 some years. She specializes in cellular, I don't know, the makeup of the cell, because there's just sideline. But I mean, she's also a practicing physician, sees patients. But she was saying the thing about the gluten that she's noticed in patients in her 20 some years of seeing patients and stuff, and the changes over those, in the past 20 years or so. And I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I mean, is that the gluten is different in effect, is what she said. And so I've that kind of opened my eyes to that too. And I'm thinking, it kind of makes sense. And it goes along with a lot of this, what I was talking about earlier. And you can see I shrunk down again, but I'm not going to try to raise the chair. Show's just about over. All the additives, and so you really, my view right now is, and, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been this way. But right now I'm into non-GMO, gluten-free, stuff that has no fructose corn syrup in it, low sugars, et cetera, and the least processed as possible, and organic. Like I say, at least 6 months out of the year, I know I can do this, grow my own. And so that nothing's more organic than me planting my own seed, right? And I do have my own seeds. That's the thing. In fact, I have, I can move this thing here. You see, there's an apple. There's an apple tree that next to that black pole, to the left of the black pole, there's a tree there. This is 2 years ago. That tree has grown substantially since then. But this, that apple tree was a seed. I ate the apple. I planted the seed. And that tree is there. It was like 4 years ago. I have to trim that thing, but I'm hoping I get apples this year. I think it's, so we'll see. But I mean, the idea is I save my seeds from year to year, and I try to plant things so it's pure, really eat organic as it possibly can. But I'm telling you, you don't know, these people are in it for the money. There's just too much greed and power. And big pharma and big ag and big tech have just far too much control. And big media, they remember, big ag, big tech, and big pharma sponsor big media. And of course the politicians, because they donate to their campaigns. So you can't believe anything, right? They're pressured. You're not going to go against a particular pharmaceutical company or do a report or an investigative report on something when they're getting, hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars in advertising revenue. a politician, who wants to be a career politician, it's become their life. They've got into this greed thing or power trip. Well, they're not going to throw away that job, right? And go against, their major donors, you see? And so big tech, big pharma, and big ag, et cetera, same with the big military contractors and the Wall Streeters and all that kind of stuff. They apply all this lobbyist pressure on these, elected and unelected bureaucrats and the media. And that's how we got into this pickle, which is, it's not really a pickle, man. It's a nightmare, right? Yeah.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
Teeth are white. Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, if anybody does watch this thing.
Good morning.
And as I always say, you could always get one of my shirts, hoodies, whatever. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com or ROCKFLUX.com. This is my ROCKFLUX YouTube channel. I've got like over 500 some videos on there. And I have a book, Then What? I recommend getting the print version on Amazon. And I have a site, Great Solar Stuff, where you can get things that will help you if the power goes out and stuff like that. Be honest with you, I'm not monetized, and not many people have been buying this stuff. I also have about 50 songs that you can listen to on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all that said, have a great remainder of your weekend, and I'll talk to you either tomorrow or